that I'm recording you also. So take that. We have a guest reporter here.
Yes.
What's your name?
Roscoe McDonald.
Roscoe, what's your story? Where are you from?
I live here right now, but I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay, very cool. And how did you get in the press corps here?
Well, my mom's, our, Ronald McDonald House, they got picked, I think, to sponsor or something.
Yep.
And, I'm her son, so I got picked.
You got a question ready today?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to you first, okay? I'll start with a little sermon that I enjoyed so much on Sunday. I speak no Japanese, but was introduced to this concept of mu-i, which essentially means be still. I promise you this is going somewhere. And then if you do a really bad Google search translation, you get something like nothingness and so on and so on. And I love this idea so much right now as we're kind of in the throes of this brilliant, incredible opportunity. We're spending some time on our staff and with our team talking about finding moments just to be still. From a religious perspective, be still and know that I am God. From a team perspective, just be still. Just find a quiet moment off of your phone, off of media, off away from guys, where we can be still in this melee, and it's awesome. And so I think it's important for our guys. It's certainly important for our staff. We talked about it today, and we're trying to spend some time doing that. So as soon as I'm done with you guys, I'm going to go take 2 minutes and be still. With that, can we grab the first question?
Yeah. So, who in your family is the best athlete, and do you think you could do their sport as good as they are?
Wow. So interestingly enough, I did not come from a family that was very much into athletics. We had people in the theater and the arts. My dad was a debate champion. And so we did not have a real athletic background. With that said, I'm still probably the worst athlete of my 5 brothers and sisters.
Oh, so tall and humble.
All right, you got a future, my friend. That's really good. That's really good. All right. Yes.
Mr. Tony, KY Sports TV. At the introductory press conference, I asked you about getting local talent, and you went out and got that. But can you speak to the talent that you have on this roster as well as what you have coming in for next season, and what you've seen from them?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited about our guys. We have it's brand new to college basketball to go construct a team in a month, right? From scratch, from zero. I think it's just a new experience, and I'm really excited about our guys' talent level. I'm really excited about their experience. I'm really excited about their commitment and desire to be here at the University of Kentucky and represent what this place is. I'm excited about their hearts and their insides. I'm excited about how they're growing together as a team. I'm full of optimism and excitement about this team. I think that we as a collective group are going to love watching these guys compete. And we're not going to see perfection, but we're going to see perfect effort, and we're going to see close to perfect commitment. And from that, magical things happen. And so I'm really excited about that. In terms of in-state local talent, it's always been a really important part of the mix. And the depth of talent in the state of Kentucky will always, like every state, it'll have some fluctuations. But there's great talent in this state right now, tremendous talent, and with that, the gift of understanding intimately from the time before you were even born, understanding what Kentucky means and what it is. And so that'll be an important ingredient of how we build this program moving forward. Yes?
Daryl Burr with Cat's Paws. You're talking about being still. You struck me on that. Why is it important? What's the concern if the team and you guys aren't able to do that, and how hard is it actually?
Yeah, it's listen, this opportunity for us to find quiet moments where we can just breathe and be peaceful. I think it's centering. I think it's a way for us to do so many things. One, it's a way for us to stay calm and focused, which is something that we'll be chasing all season long. I think it's a way for us to stay centered in terms of try and have our internal voice in this locker room and on this team be louder for us than all the external voices. That's really vitally important. For every young person right now that's grown up carrying this around and is immersed in this social media barrage of input and opinions by people that don't really care about you. I think this taking a moment just to be still and listen to your internal voices, I just think is massively important. Probably more here at Kentucky than anywhere else, because what makes this space brilliant, if you can handle it in the right way, is the volume, but it can also make it debilitating. And so it's something we're spending a lot of time teaching our guys about and thinking about. Yeah.
As you were talking about being here, it seems like you've been here before, you're handling this as everything that it is. How are your guys adjusting coming from some different schools where maybe the spotlight isn't as big, where when you go to a football game or go to the mall, you're not getting berated by the fans and finding those moments to be still? How are they dealing with that? Dylan Ballard from a Sea of Blue.
Yeah, I think our guys are loving it. Actually, I think they're enjoying every moment of it. And I think we have a bunch of veteran guys. We have some really young guys, and then we have some veteran guys that are teaching young guys a little bit about what this is, and we're all exploring the whole process together. And our guys came here as eyes wide open as you can be. When you have guys that have played at one or two other schools and have played 3 or 4 years of college basketball, you can't come to Kentucky more prepared than that unless you've been at Kentucky before. And so I think it also gives our guys a brilliant perspective. One of the gifts of me, I was a transfer also, and I played 2 years at another school and then transferred here. And the gift that I got was I got to recognize that Kentucky really is different than anywhere else in the country. Sometimes freshmen don't see that, and our guys do. And so I think they're appreciating and loving it, and I think they're also very humble, understanding that it's a massive beast that they've jumped into, and so I think I think our guys are pretty focused and excited to take it on. Yeah.
Ben Roberts, Sarah Leader. What's your philosophy on starting lineups? Is it best 5? Is it best pieces fit together? And how hard is that to manage with this group that's had 9 guys who have started all?
Ben, I'm so sorry because I'm going to give you the worst answer. It's both and all of the above. It really is. You'll always, I believe in the synergy of every aspect of this game. I think that's such a massive part of this game. I think it's why team sports are brilliant. And so there's going to be times when I'm saying, hey, we're going with this starting lineup because these pieces fit together. There's going to be times I'm saying that we're going with this starting lineup because it's our best 5 guys. There'll be all the answers above. I think that's a pretty dynamic space. We don't spend a lot of time emphasizing starting. It's finishing that really matters, and sometimes finishing is even, not the most important thing, right? There's so many ways that guys make contributions, but there are times when on paper it might look like you could make a really rational argument about why rotations should work differently, because there are a lot of rational arguments to be made, but we'll consider all those things kind of as we go. Yeah. I can't. Come on, man. Yeah. Is there anybody in here that doesn't know Larry? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I'm just wondering, how's the group text going with the former teammates? Are they still full of advice? Have they slowed down a little? Or?
I think there's the calm before the storm right now. So I expect, I'm really toying with the idea of publishing the whole strand as we get closer to it. I think it'd be really fun. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. Don't hold me to that. But I think it's going to get way more animated as we get closer to games. Yeah.
Tyler Thompson, Kentucky Sports Radio. You know all about this program as a player. What have you learned about it as a coach so far?
Great question. I'm really working hard to learn the job. because there's no job like it, and so I'm trying to learn it. And it's the one thing I know for sure. It's the greatest job in all of basketball, and there's no place I'd rather be. So I know those things for a fact, and I think it is going to be certainly the most challenging thing I've done in my career as a player or a coach, even more challenging than surviving Coach Pitino, which is saying something, really. But I've definitely learned that that's true. I expected that to be the case when I got here. Yep.
Mark, when you talk about that lesson of be still and that Japanese proverb, is that as much of a lesson for yourself as you learn what
Yeah.
this job is like and the throngs of it as it is
Yeah.
as a player when you're going through it?
Yeah, man, it just hit my heart hard when I heard it on Sunday. I think it's really brilliant advice for all of us actually. But this job is just begging you to never stop. It's begging you to be so consumed by everything that you never really think and that you never really listen. You never really listen. And if we miss on that opportunity, for me in a spiritual sense, if I don't take the opportunity to really stop and listen and kind of commune, I'm not going to be a great coach. But all of the gravity is asking you to just go nonstop, which feeds into my DNA a little bit. It's how I like to operate. So it's really important for me to be a great coach, for me to really be a good mentor to these guys, for me to kind of advocate on behalf of this program and this university and this state, and represent this the way it is. I'm certainly not going to do it well if I'm relying only on myself, and if I'm not taking time to really be still. It's really important to me. I think it's a big deal. I actually think it's something that I'm advocating for my players and certainly for everyone. I think it's awesome. Yeah, in the back, white shirt.
Mason Hornisky with WHS 11. Mark, there's never.
Tell me your last name again.
Hornisky.
You're not related to Bobby Hordusky. Hordusky was that's not a common name, is it?
No, not at all.
He's brilliant director of operations for me. He's beautiful. Okay, go ahead.
There's never been a Kentucky basketball team that's entered a season with this much experience under its belt. How much of that stillness, that steadiness, just comes from that?
Well, we're counting on it a little bit. It's interesting because it's a little bit like everything. What I find all the time as I get old, I kind of find that everything's true in a sense, right? I'd say both things are true. So, for example, we have one of the most experienced teams in the history of Kentucky basketball. And we don't have a single player on the team that's ever worn a Kentucky jersey. And so it's both, right? Both those things are true. And so it's going to be, where can we lean? Can we lean our experience? Can we lean on our togetherness instead of succumbing to the fact that none of us have ever experienced Kentucky, individually or together? And so that's the battle. And I have a lot of faith in our guys, man. I think right now we have enough capital in the bank that I think we can withstand some hits and stay together. And I think that the guys they're learning. I talk about this all the time. I talk about this to the team. When you're in a huddle and things are going good, everybody faces in and wants to look each other eye to eye. It's the same thing in this press room. It's the exact same thing. It's a human condition, a human experience. When things are going well, it inspires us to connect. And when things are going bad, if we have a practice that doesn't go well, because all the games are going to go really well. If we have a practice that doesn't go well, there's a good chance that we're going to walk into this room and maybe our eye contact isn't as fresh, because what we do is we start to turn away, turn down, look around, and we start to get lost in our own head, right? And that's the battle. That's the battle. And veterans know that battle. They understand it a little bit more because it's exactly the wrong recipe, right? When things are tough, when you're going through tough times, that's when we need to actually look at each other more and see each other more and rely on each other more and communicate more. Like that's what our life is begging us to do, to find solutions, but our instincts are to draw back and look away and be quieter and get withdrawn inside ourselves. And so, those are the things that you count on veteran players to understand quicker and learn more, and certainly that's something we're talking about a lot on our team.
Coach Pitino just tweeted out that he's going to be here for the Kentucky Vanderbilt game.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So Coach hit me a week ago, and he kind of asked me, but he really told me that he was coming to practice. And so, believe it or not, so I sat down with the staff, and I'm like, guys, you guys gonna have to carry the day, man, because this is my guy coming in here, Coach P. And so, I'm really, listen. Anytime I get to spend some time with Coach is time incredibly well spent for me. I love him. Yeah. Oh, all right. Let me move. Yep. See, I keep coming back to you, man. Go ahead.
Cameron Drummond with the Lexington Herald Leader. You spoke at the beginning about the depth of in-state talent.
Yep.
Obviously, you have two guys on this year's roster, Travis Perry and Trent Noah, who are acclaimed high school basketball players from the state. They obviously know what this program means to people in the state, but can you speak to what they've shown you throughout the summer and early fall and their progression as freshmen?
Yeah, I'm huge fans of these two kids, man. I'm telling you. It's been, I've said this a couple times, but, the first day, Travis, I think Travis has never been fazed by anything in his life. I think he's like a 75-year-old soul in an 18-year-old body. He's specially built that way. And he came in, he's like, man, I can't get a shot off, right? And defensively assignments were really hard, and a little bit his head was spinning defensively a little bit, and then Trent, who man, I just think this is special. I think he's really special. I think he's a really special human being. I don't know Eastern Kentucky like people that grew up in Eastern Kentucky. I don't know it well like them, but if you had a guy that was going to represent the eastern half of this state in a brilliant, brilliant way. This Trent Noah is really special that way. So both these guys came into the first couple of days of practice. They were spinning around in circles, and both of them just kind of put their head down and went to work and went to work and went to work. And they are like sieves right now. They are learning so fast. I've teased Trent that he didn't make a shot for the first 6 weeks, and we recruited a shot maker. Where's that part? And what's been great is he's executing things. In a sense, he has a little advantage because he came in here like tabla rasa, right? Like he didn't have, there weren't a lot of things that he had to relearn or correct because he hasn't been in college before. And man, he just is, you see him on the floor making decisions that are exactly the way we teach. Right now we teach a little bit different. And we're like, man, we talked about that like twice and you're executing it already. And so I love these kids. It's really special to have them on the team, and they're going to make a huge impact on Kentucky basketball this year, and certainly as we move forward with this program. I'm grateful to have these two guys. I couldn't ask for better human beings to represent the state of Kentucky than these two kids. Yeah.
Zach Yeager with Kentucky Sports Radio. Analytics is a big approach to your philosophy and how you go about coaching. In terms of in-game or late-game situations, how much do you lean on analytics that way in terms of lineups you want to do, fouling up three, who to foul, things like that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because one of the tough things, in terms of philosophy, yes, we'll rely on a little bit, but it's interesting because all of the numbers read out that fouling up three it turns out to be a little bit of a wash, right? When you kind of do deep dives into data and all the tangential research, right? So there are some places where it weighs heavily. Mostly I do what I ask my players to do, right? Which is to take in all the information, be curious, like humility and curiosity, guys. You guys are going to hear me talk about that, from day one to the end of time, right? They're components of players that grow really fast. They're really humble and they're really, really curious, and those are almost the same thing. And so to take in all that information and then you kind of just have to read it in real time. We don't, it's a little bit different than some other sports because basketball is changing so fast. Like the situations change so fast in the course of a game that you end up with a product in the last few minutes of the game that might not be anything resembling the product that you anticipated. And you probably have introduced 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 new variables because you don't stop, right? It just keeps going and going. And so we'll use it really heavily, but it also has massive limitations. Like you talk about lineup combinations late in the game. The truth is, you'll be 18 games in the season, and you still don't even have anywhere near close to enough data to actually rely on it at all. You kind of have a bunch of biases that you rely on is probably what you do as a coach because, like I've said before, in the NBA, you really start to rely on some of the analytics 41 games in of 48-minute games of way more possessions, and we just never approximate that information over time, right? We just don't get that data set. So it's a balance. Yeah.
Mark John Huang, Nolan Group Media. I've heard you say in the past that you don't mind being called out if you do something wrong. It's
Yeah.
kind of music to our ears.
Yeah.
We don't hear Kentucky basketball.
Great. Yeah, it was a big mistake. I knew when the words would come out of my mouth, I'm like, this is going to be a problem. Keep going.
What do you think is the role of local media
Yep.
in covering the home?
Yep, yep. So, listen, I think, I've said this before, and I really believe it. I think storytelling has always been a driving force in every community and society. Storytelling. And storytelling in all of its different forms, right? Is a debater, you're a storyteller. Is a business owner, you're a storyteller. Certainly as a coach, you're a storyteller. As a religious figure, you're a storyteller. Like it's like we. Listen, one of the this is going to be a long answer. You ready for this? One of the greatest things about Big Blue Madness is, yeah, it's fun that it's the floor is going to be incredible and unprecedented, and our guys get to be introduced, and there's going to be mayhem and chaos and all the beautiful things that happen at Big Blue Madness. But the best thing about it is that we are all in the same building together. Like, that's it. It's like it's this. We all get to connect with each other, and that's the brilliant part of it. It's the first time in the season where 23,000 of us get to be in the same room together and just feel each other, right? And it's the best thing about sport. And so when I think about the local media and the national media and everybody that covers Kentucky basketball every single day, I think what I'm grateful for is storytelling. And it's actually doubly as good when it's relatively accurate storytelling, right? But it's and stories are boring. I hate to say this, but it's just true. Stories are boring if it's just kind of like glossy the whole time. It's just not. It doesn't capture us as human beings if it's just kind of soft and surface the whole time, because what we're really taken by as human beings is when things look like they're going bad and everyone kind of makes a judgment, and then all of a sudden they're not going bad anymore. And you're caught up in because all of us feel moments in our life where things are going bad, where we doubt, we're unsure, we're insecure, we're thinking about maybe do we need to change course, and we get to see that in sport every day. And so if we're not actually really telling the story, then I think we lose that connection that's so brilliant that we're going to be able to experience in Big Blue Madness. And so, I'm not begging you to say all the terrible things about me, for sure, but telling the story matters. And I think listen, if Kentucky basketball, at the end of the day, if the best and only thing that Kentucky basketball has to offer is having a great team, and there's no connection behind it, and it's actually not doing that's not what's made it different than everyone else. What's made it different than everyone else is the connection that 23,000 of us get to feel when we walk in that arena Friday night, and storytellers actually make that accessible to everybody. It's super important. So there you go. In the hat.
Ryan Black with the Louisville Courier. I have a two-part question here, and I'm famous for doing these, so just
Yep.
go that. And it's on Ansley. So the first part of it is
Yes and no. No, I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, it's first off, there's perceived that there's a big jump for him coming from where he came from
Yep.
to now being the SEC. One, how have you seen him adapt to that? And two, do we as outsiders overrate that perceived jump? Because at the end of the day, basketball is basketball.
Ansley's really interesting. First of all, I'm tell you a little about him, and it'll make the jump a little. So, yeah, like the pundits in the basketball world that don't really do deep dives might think, man, there's a big jump. But when you get in the weeds, it's actually like not a big jump. It's a perfect fit. So you think about Ansley, grew up in the Northeast, incredible family, is a self-made player in a number of different ways. Like who he is right now is so diametrically different than who he was when he walked onto campus his freshman year. How he's grown, his growth trajectory is incredible. He's a finance major. He's a brilliant young man. He digests information in life and in basketball so fast. He's become an elite level scoring, shooting, growing into passing big. He's a perfect fit for us. So the prognosticators, we miss because we just don't have time. Like it's nobody's fault. If people weren't going crazy about Ansley as they were evaluating the 1,800 give or take players in the portal, that's no slam on them. It's just they don't have the time to do the deep dives that we have. He's actually a perfect fit here at the University of Kentucky for this first year. I'm so excited to have him. Yeah.
Michael Epps with Fox 56. Mark, obviously there's a lot that's still going to happen between now and the Champions Classic.
Yeah.
It's a big game. That's
Yeah.
the first big game for you. I know you're excited about it, and I think the fans are excited for you to watch. You beat Duke. That's kind of like, whoa. But do you feel like your team is going to be ready to hit the ground running, or with this puzzle, is it going to take a little while for these pieces to fit?
Yeah, so I know for fans they might chalk it up as the first big game, but the first big game for us is the blue-white scrimmage, right? That's the big one, and I know that's a disappointing answer for you, but it's actually really true. It's really true for us, and then we have two huge exhibitions where we get to be out, and then we play Wright State and Bucknell, and those are huge games. It'll always be this way for us, and this is actually super genuine. This is not a. I mean, if you just watched football last week, right, you get a real sense of if your biggest game is not your next game, then you've made a serious error in underestimating the greatness of sports, right? With that said, I totally understand what you're asking. But if I don't say that, then my players are like, yeah, you really are, but it's just generally true. I think that, these classics are really tremendous. You get a chance to play the most storied, best programs in the country, and so we look forward to them certainly through the course of our season. And we talk about banners all the time, and we love to have it floating out there, but all of our focus is actually on today. Like all of our focus right now is on today's practice, that we got to get better today. And if we put the days together, if we stack the days, then we'll be ready. Yeah.
Coach, Andrew Shafani at Kentucky Wildcats on the side. So we know you like bigs who can pass the ball, and talked to Brandon Garrison during a meeting window a few months ago, and he said, hey, I think Amari and I are some of the better passers in college basketball last year. What have you seen from them so far in the summer and fall, and do you think they've lived up to that when it comes to passing the ball?
Yeah, I'm really excited about them. So we actually, so I had the great fortune of coaching Ali Khalifa for a year last season, and I love when players teach you about the game, and just by seeing what they can do and how far you can push them, how far you can take their talent and just stretch it, right, and how much you can utilize it, and so he actually changed the way that I think about processing the game a little bit. He changed passing angles and changed passing alternatives and tracking, the whole process of tracking as a big when you're working in any number of actions. And so I was super, last year was so fun learning. As a coach, it was so fun learning and trying to stretch, my players and myself. And so we kind of came into this year thinking, hey, so now we got to learn it, we got to see it, we got to watch it and really expand and explore it, but can we teach it? And that has been such a fun process this year. And these guys have picked it up I'm shocked with how fast they've picked up kind of this new way of decision making, as a decision maker for a five. It's actually super great. We knew they were talented passers coming in. But expanding their range of how they think about delivering the ball has been great, and they're making huge progress. I think we're going to love watching these bigs go to work. I really do. I think there's going to be times where it's just like, wow, I did not see that coming. I'm looking forward to that.
Time for two more.
I haven't, in the back, yep.
Armando Gary, W1T 9 News. At Vanderkamp, you said that y'all had put together the best shot-making team in the country. What has the process been like for you bringing together all these individuals and turning them into the team and the identity that you want in your first year here?
Yeah, we talk. First of all, there's great human beings on this team. Like, there's great people with really terrific insides, and we're relying on that a lot for them to come together as a team. And then we focus on it. You know, it's contagious. This is nothing new. You guys have heard this since the beginning of time. But making plays for your teammate is contagious, and the trick is you have to lean into it really hard with faith to get the process started, right? And once you believe enough, you have enough faith in the process, then you can start to experience, man, this thing does come back. It does come back. It does make the game more fun and easier and better and more inspiring. But the first steps are counter to the way most guys are raised and the way we cover most guys. And no slam, but in the media, it's different than the way we cover most guys. It's different than the highlight films we normally see. The things that we value on our team that we think are extraordinary playmaking attributes probably aren't going to show up on the highlights, but they're massive highlights for the people that are just living hugely in the weeds of the game, which would be limited to just about every member of BBN, right? And this is why it's going to be so fun to share this product with our fan base. But our guys are jumping in hard, and they're doing a great job. Is someone else who has not had a chance to, yep, go ahead.
Mark, Tristan Ferris, the Kentucky Insider. You talked a lot about having one of the most experienced teams in college basketball, yet they're not experienced playing together. But how often have you found yourself them coaching each other rather than you coaching? Yeah,
we're working really hard on that. The first 4 or 5 weeks, we got a lot of, we tried to put the guys together and huddle them. We got to go handle it. And there was a lot of blank stares. Of course there was, because guys hadn't learned our terminology and vernacular, and they hadn't learned kind of how we see the game. And so what's fun is, in the past, it's kind of like you take a player and you get him for a year and you talk to him and at him for a year, and he starts to digest it. And then you're making progress when he starts to actually repeat the words, right? And so we've just tried so hard to expedite that process, almost like, I've talked about this a lot in medical school. So see one, do one, teach one, right? That process. And so our guys have really done an unbelievable job expediting that in a lot of different areas where I'm really proud of how they're working, and it's becoming almost natural, instinctive to come into a huddle or on the floor to communicate. Now, we have simple places where we're still declaring the ball in transition defense has been a major principle for the last couple of weeks, and still we're thinking about so much that we get distracted by the most simple concept. But so we still have places where we have massive growth to do, but I've been really proud overall of the guys' progress. Someone else who hasn't had a chance, yep.
I know there's Lilia Saxena Smithson, and I'm Larry Bott's intern, but
Nice.
We're super excited as college students for you to be coming back, and I know an older generation like my mom, who was at UK when you were here, is riveted.
Thank you for saying your mom and not your grandmother. I appreciate that, because I am getting some grandmas that were here with me, and I'm just like, wow, I'm getting old. Anyway,
My
keep
mom,
going.
but she's a huge fan. So what does it mean for you to be back here and coaching this team, but also as a champion for the Wildcats yourself?
Yeah, there's a million ways I can answer that question, but let me tell you one of the ways. So, I don't know, guys. This is going to sound so petty, but it's not. It's going to sound petty, and then let me explain. So from time to time, I get to sign an autograph, and below it, I get to put 96 champs. And it's not. It's actually not. That sounds super petty, right? Because on the petty side, I recognize that that's just a little bit bragging rights, and it's a little bit like, there are not many people that get to write that, right? And so, but what means so much to me is that in that 96 CHAMPS exclamation mark is like a whole lot of like fight and blood and sweat and tears and together and like leaning on guys and a lot of doubts and worries and frustrations and hopes and perseverance and all that's wrapped up into that. And I'm grateful that I get to do that and be here and do that because that's what I want for my guys so badly. I want for our guys. I want them to be able to write that, for their year, and then to be able to write that CHAMPS underneath it. And it's not about that. It's not about bragging rights or anything else. It's about like the right? That that nobody else knows except the other guys that were in that locker room that really, really know. And and then how you grow as a human being through it. And so I'm so grateful to be back here to take our big swing at it and see if we can get there. I'd like all of our guys to be able to write that. Good. Yep. Anybody else not ask a question? Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Aaron Gershon, Cats Closet. You talked about having to start from scratch. Can you talk about how you identified some of the portal targets early on, and also Coach Brooks and Coach Willie Hart, who you hadn't worked with before?
Yeah. I'll start with the coaches. So Coach Hart, I played with at Milwaukee, and he's one of my favorite human beings in the world, and he's a big-time coach, and he's had incredible success at the college level and at the professional level coaching. Like, he's a veteran coach who is, I'm going to be shocked if all these guys aren't gone next year with head jobs, which is the goal. I've known him and loved him and admired him for a long time. He does incredible work. And then Coach Brooks, I didn't know as well, but I knew his reputation. Everybody in basketball knows his reputation. And then through conversations, I realized, and you'll hear me say this so many times because it's so true, he is such a better person than he is a coach. And he's one of the most recognized coaches, associate head coaches in all of college basketball. But he's an incredible person. Like, he's a gift. It is, it's kind of like when I sit down with a recruit or sit down with current players and their families, and the floor slides over to Coach Brooks, I'm like, yep, you're welcome, people. Enjoy this. He's really special. And I actually feel that way about every single guy on my staff. Like, I'm really blessed to be able to work with great people on my staff. I'm really excited. And then in terms of our players, it was a fun process because when you're working out of the portal, you have film in college on every single player. And so we got to be as specific as we could. And it was pretty easy to target the guys like, oh, man, you look at his game and he just fits exactly what we do uniquely. And so we're really excited about that. Super great for you guys. Thanks for covering us. And let's go, Cats.